Good morning, everyone. We're so glad to see you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our Unitarian Universalist Fellowship service of Manhattan, Kansas. Welcome to those from near and from far, and I know you come, many of you, from a long ways. It is our pleasure to host Curtis Kekahbah, traditional counselor of the Kansas, Kaw, Potawatomi Nations, as our guest speaker. Mr. Kekahbah, who lives in Oklahoma, is an indigenous, spiritual leader, and native educator. Today, he shares his reflection that he has entitled Perseverance with Humility. We look forward to and are very grateful for his being with us at our UU Fellowship Sunday service, and we thank you all for joining us today. As a rare exception, our service today will extend a bit beyond our usual time, and that way we can honor our guest's full message and his choosing of our story for all ages, the traditional legend of Jumping Mouse, told by Sylvia Beeman. And now I'd like to introduce our hymn, which is entitled right now we're going to go to our lighting of the chalice, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right here. It's my chalice that I use a lot. I don't know if you can see this, but it's one that I put a little tea light in. And this chalice was made by my father-in-law, Pat Embers. And during this time, actually before this time, I've done a little smudging with sage and some prayers and some special meditation. And we have a video, a very special video today of someone that our speaker, Curtis, has known personally. And he will give his journey on forgiveness. So here is that video of Albert White Hat, Lakota teacher.
When you learn what happened at Sand Creek Massacre, you learn what happened at Wounded Knee. You learn what happened with the missionaries, the government policies. You go through a pure hatred and anger. About 30 years ago, I stood on a hill fasting. I had these images of what happened at Sand Creek and Wounded Knee. every government policy and church policy that was imposed on me was coming at me one at a time. I got angrier and angrier till I was full of hatred. And I was sitting there with my pipe. I looked around and everything is so overwhelming. What the hell can you do? You know? The only thing I could think of was, when I get off this hill, I'm going to pick up my gun and I'm just going to start shooting. It's the only honorable way I can get out of here. And it was a beautiful morning, just quiet. All around that hill where I stood, you could see the land. Just beautiful, just quiet. There's no sound, not even birds. It's just deathly silent. Standing there looking around, and I want to live. I want to smile. I want to laugh. I want to enjoy life. But the price was I had to forgive. I cried that morning because I forgive. That doesn't mean I'm going to forget what happened, and as long as I can breathe, it's not going to happen again.
I'm very grateful for that video of Albert Whitehead. At this time, we go to our story for all ages. The traditional legend of Jumping Mouse, spoken and told by Sylvia Beeman.
Storytelling is very important in Native American culture. Stories are not just for entertainment. Stories are for remembering history and tradition, and stories are tools for counseling and teaching. Native Americans counsel indirectly, carefully choosing stories that address particular issues or situations. I'm going to tell you a story that's said to be at least 10,000 years old. I'll tell you a version by a Cheyenne man named Hayameyos Storm, which he wrote in the Cheyenne tradition. The story of Jumping Mouse. Once there was a little mouse. He spent all his days doing little mousy things, scurrying around on the ground, looking for little seeds and things and tucking them away and little soft things to make his bedding. But every now and then he lifted his nose from the ground and pricked up his ears, squinted his eyes, sniffed the air, and wondered. And that's how he happened to hear a strange noise. He ran back to ask another mouse. Do you hear a strange roaring noise? I have a strange roaring in my ears. No, I hear nothing. You're bothering me. Go away, please. So he went to ask another mouse, who didn't even bother to look up, just like the first mouse. Do you hear a strange roaring in your ears, like I do? No, I hear nothing. I think you're a little foolish. Please don't bother me. The little mouse shook his whiskers and went back to doing his mousy little things, but he thought he could still hear a faint noise somewhere. So he scurried off a little way from the other mice, and he listened. Yes, he could hear the roaring again. Yes, it was there. Hello. Oh, who are you? I'm Raccoon. What are you doing so far away from your mousy brothers, little mouse? I had a roaring in my ears, and I'm investigating. Oh, a roaring in your ears. Well, what you're hearing is river. River? What is river? Come, I will show you river. Follow me. So mouse followed Raccoon. He was very frightened and his heart beat fast in his little chest. The path was strange, and there were scary scents of other beings that had walked here before him. But he followed, and then he saw it. It was river. It was huge. It sang. It cried. It roared. It thundered. River is magnificent. Yes, said Raccoon. River is a great being. But Little Mouse stood on the edge of the river and looked at his reflection. It looked like a scared little mouse. Who am I? Do not be afraid, said Raccoon. I will introduce you to my friend Frog, and then I must be on my way. And there, in a little quiet area on the edge of the river, was a giant green lily pad. In the middle of the lily pad was a bright green frog with a creamy white belly. Aren't you afraid to be in the middle of the river, Frog? Oh, no, I am not. From birth, I've had the medicine power to live above the river and in the river. When the winter freezes my power, you cannot find me. But when the thunderbird flies across the sky and all the earth is green like me, I will be back here by the river, and you can always find me, for I am the guardian of the water. Would you like some medicine power? What? Me? Medicine power? Yes, I would like some medicine. Then crouch down and leap up as high as you can, and you will have your medicine. So Little Mouse did as he was instructed, and he crouched down, and he leaped up, and at the top of his leap, he saw something wondrous, but then, splash! He fell back down into the river and had scrambled up onto the bank. You tricked me, Frog! Oh, you're fine. Do not let your fears take hold of you. You now have your medicine, and now you have a new name. Your name is Jumping Mouse. Oh, and tell me, what did you see? I saw something amazing. It was far, far away and high in the sky, sharp and pointy. You have seen the sacred mountains. Yes, and now you have your new name and a vision. I must go back and tell the other mice about it. Yes, you must go, said Frog. Keep the roar of the river to your back, and you will find your mice brothers. So he returned to his family of mice, and he told them all the amazing things he had seen and the roaring that he had heard. But he was disappointed. They did not believe him. They thought he was crazy. In fact, they avoided him as if they thought his craziness would rub off on them. So he just twitched his little whiskers and went back to do mousy things. But he could not get the vision of the sacred mountains out of his little mind. And so one day he went to the edge of the prairie. There were dark spots circling in the sky. Those were eagles. They could catch a little being like him and carry him away and eat him. He gathered up all his courage, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran, his heart pounding in his chest until he came to a sage bush. And there he ducked under, and there he met an old mouse. Hello, thank you for visiting me. Welcome to my house. I will feed you, and you can rest here. Oh, I can see this is a beautiful place, and that you are a great being. I can see all the creatures that live on the prairie from up here. Yes, this is a very good place, and you would be safe here from the eagles. But have you ever seen the great river or the sacred mountains? I know of the great river, but the sacred mountains, that is just a dream. They cannot be found. But I really must find them. I must. It's my vision. You are very foolish. You have everything you need here. Plenty of food, a nice, safe place to live. If you leave, the spots, those are eagles. They will find you and they will catch you. But I must follow my vision. Thank you. Thank you, great creature. Thank you for your hospitality and for feeding me and giving me a place to rest. But I really must go. And so he ran and he ran and he ran, his heart pounding in his little ribcage until he came to a stand under the trees. He looked around. Cool, lots of water, berries to eat. But he heard a heavy breathing. What was that? There was a great mound before him. It was covered with dark wool, and it had two big horns, each one bigger than he was. Oh, who are you, great being? And why do you lie here with your eyes closed?
I am Buffalo. Thank you for visiting me, but I am sick and I am dying, and my medicine tells me that the only thing that can save me is the power of a mouse's eye, and I cannot get one of those.
Mouse, jumping mouse, hid behind a tree. Mouse's eye, mouse's eye. He is a great, magnificent being, and I cannot let him die. He thought for a long while, and then he approached Buffalo. I am Jumping Mouse, and I have two eyes. I will give you one of them so that you can be well. As soon as he said that, his eye leaped out of his head, and Buffalo was whole again. Buffalo stood and shook, and the ground trembled underneath Jumping Mouse.
You are a great brother to me. I will always be your brother. I have heard that you have seen the great river and that you seek the sacred mountains. I can take you as far as the foothills of the sacred mountains. Come with me. You can run under my belly, and then the spots in the sky, the eagles, cannot hurt you. And so that is how they crossed the prairie. And when they got to the foothills of the sacred mountains, the buffalo stopped. And he said, "Here we are. I can go no further. My feet have not crushed you because they know to move in the way I have been taught by the sacred dance. But my hoofs are made to walk in the prairie and not on the mountains. And now I must leave you, but you can always find me again in the prairie. Goodbye, little mouse. Goodbye, Jumping Mouse. Thank you for my health."
Jumping Mouse began to explore this new place at the foothills of the sacred mountains. It was very nice. There were lots of really interesting things for him to explore. Ooh, but who was this being covered with gray fur, sitting so very still in front of him? Oh, that is Wolf. I have heard of him, but I have never met him before.
"Oh, Wolf, Wolf, yes, that's my name. I am Wolf. I keep forgetting who I am," said the great creature, and his eyes brightened as he remembered who he was. But then his eyes dimmed, and he sat very still.
Oh, this poor creature. He is a great creature. He has lost his memory. I cannot let him suffer this way.
He thought for a long time and listened to the beating of his own heart. And then he went to Wolf and said to him,
I have learned that the medicine of a mouse's eye could heal you. I am Jumping Mouse, and I want to give you my eye. Please take it.
As soon as he said that, his eye leaped out of his head, and Wolf was made whole. "Oh, thank you, little brother," said Wolf. The tears poured down his face, but Jumping Mouse could not see them, for now Jumping Mouse was blind. "Thank you, little brother. You have healed me, And now I remember who you are. I have who I am. I have my memory. I am the guide to the sacred mountains, and I will guide you through the sacred mountains if that is what you wish.
Oh, yes, yes, please guide me through the mountains.
In the middle of the sacred mountains is a sacred lake. It is the most beautiful lake in the whole world. In the reflection of that lake, you can see all the peoples and all the beings that live in the sky and on the prairies. I will take you there. Come with me. And so, Wolf led Jumpy Mouse through the piney woods to the sacred lake. There at the sacred lake, Jumpy Mouse drank its medicine, while Wolf described for him the beauty of the sacred lake. I will stay with you as long as you wish, said Wolf.
I'm afraid to be by myself,
said Jumpy Mouse.
but I know that you must go back and lead other beings to the waters of the sacred lake. And so you must go now.
And so Wolf left. Jumpy Mouse was very frightened. He knew that an eagle could come any time and find him, and he could not run away. There was no use. He couldn't see where to go. And then he felt a cold shadow on his back, and he heard a whisper of wind and feathers. And then, eagle hit! And Jumpy Mouse became unconscious. But then Jumpy Mouse awoke. He was alive. It was amazing. He was alive, and he could see. Everything was blurry, but he could see colors, and they were beautiful. I can see! A shape coming toward him was very blurry. He squinted. He couldn't make it out.
Hello, would you like some medicine? Me? Oh, yes, I would like some medicine. Then crouch very closely down to the ground and then leap as high as you can.
And so Jumpy Mouse did exactly as he was instructed. He crouched very low to the ground and closed his eyes tight and leaped up, and the wind caught him and carried him up. And the voice from below said,
Do not be afraid. Let the wind carry you up. Hang with the wind and trust.
And so he did trust, and he went higher and higher and higher, and he opened his eyes, and his vision was clearing. And the higher he went, the clearer his vision was. And he looked down at the sacred lake, and he could see a bright green lily pad down there, and there was someone sitting on the lily pad.
Is that you, Frog? Yes, it is I, Frog. Look at yourself.
And he did. He looked at himself. His hind legs, the ends of them were great sharp talons, and his front legs had turned into powerful feathered wings. And instead of a little pink nose with whiskers, he had a great curved beak. And he spread his wings, and he flew, and he flew, and he flew.
Thank you, Sylvia. A wonderful story, a wonderful legend, traditional legend, recommended to us to use for our story by our speaker, Curtis Kekahbah. It is now time for our offertory. We welcome contributions. At this time, for the offertory, you can go to our website at uufm.net/donation-2. You'll find it on the home page. You can donate to our Helping Hands, which is the Manhattan Emergency Shelter, which has the acronym of MESI. That will be used to buy holiday gifts for 2 families in our local area. You can also donate to support our general operation funds here at UUFM. And after the offertory, or during the offertory, the music that will be playing, you can also go on chat to submit your your joys or sorrows or concerns, and they will be read by our minister, John Lou Johnston, after the offertory. So at this time, our music director at UU, Renee Brown, will play Johann Pachelbel's Canon in D major.
Each time we gather we gather as a community. And each time we gather, we are a little different community. Today, we are a little bit different community than usual, but important to our community is the sharing of the joys and sorrows that we have experienced during our time apart. And I also am having the privilege this morning to introduce our guest at your table. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, with whom we're associated as part of Unitarian Universalism, has a fundraiser and information sharing program that happens each year called Guest at Your Table. And we get to share something about some of the stories of the partners that the UUSC works with during this time. So today I have the privilege of introducing you to this week's guest, Chief Cheryl Parfait Dardar, leader of the Grand Koyo Dulak Band of the Biloxi Chitimacha Choctaw Tribe. Through a partnership with the Lowlander Center, a volunteer-run ecological justice organization in southern Louisiana, UUSC works with Chief Cheryl to advocate for the tribe's rights against the ravages of climate change, exacerbated by oil and gas activity and lack of federal recognition. Last January, UUSC and Lowlander Center supported Chief Cheryl as she joined with 4 other indigenous communities in Louisiana and Alaska to submit a formal complaint to the United Nations about the US government's failure to adequately address the climate crisis devastating their homelands. So here is a clip of Chief Cheryl sharing about her home and how drastically her tribe's lands have changed since her childhood.
You never know the meaning of home until you've lived in more than one. I've been many places in my short lifetime. Different states, another country, different people and surroundings, but I've always longed for and returned home. There's nothing like the smell of the fresh morning air when you first step outside your front door down the bayou. The dampened leaves and grass, and the smell of the bayou right across your street. If you could ever smell peacefulness, that would be it. I belong to the Grand Koyo Dulak Band of Biloxi Chitimacha Choctaw Indians. I am proud of my heritage and culture. My people are proud and strong. We instill this in our children from birth as we must overcome many obstacles in our bayou homeland of Louisiana. We have to fight for education opportunities for our children, jobs, hurricanes, our land, and our way of living. The loss of our homeland is the hardest battle to overcome, but we will never give up. We are relentless. From land being swindled back in the 1800s, hurricanes, and the scariest villain yet, land erosion. We lose football fields every day. The government doesn't do anything to save our land, and neither do the oil companies who are responsible for digging the damaging canals many years ago. These companies reap the rewards while we are left to sink into the Gulf of Mexico. They didn't rape Mother Earth. They have destroyed her and my people and our heritage with their lack of morality and common sense. These people have completely missed the concept of my favorite proverb. We do not own the land. It was not given to us by our ancestors. It was loaned to us by our children. There were once many trees on our land, and they sink away or die from saltwater intrusion. The vastly wooded areas we used to run barefoot in as children are becoming less and less as time passes. Things are changing so quickly. I fear that my grandchildren will never know the joys of what I experienced as an Indian child living on the bayou. The hurricanes come and ravage our community with wind and water. Our homes are left unprotected by our local government. We are unable to afford the necessary insurances to cover our properties due to the lack of protection so desperately needed. We are given no choice but to struggle to rebuild or relocate to higher grounds outside of our community. They say we can't be saved. They say that we have to relocate to preserve life. Once again, they have proven us to be expendable in their eyes. But we have proven that we never back down from the impossible. We will continue to fight for our way of life, for ours is unlike any other. We will fight until the last tree has died, until the last bit of land has washed away. We will always fight for our home.
We now move on to our poem today that is read by Diane Barker. It is written by Joy Harjo, Muskogee Creek Nation, the United States Poet Laureate of 2020. And the title is For Calling the Spirit Back from Wandering the Earth in Its Human Feet. Diane.
The spirit back from wandering the earth in its human feet. Put down that bag of potato chips, that white bread, that bottle of pop. Turn off that cell phone, computer, and remote control. Open the door, then close it behind you. Take a breath offered by friendly winds. They travel the earth gathering essences of plants to clean. Give it back with gratitude. If you sing, it will lift your spirit to fly to the stars' ears and back. Acknowledge this earth, who has cared for you since you were a dream, planting itself precisely within your parents' desire. Let your moccasin feet take you to the encampment of the guardians who have known you before time, who will be there after time. They sit before the fire that has been there without time. Let the earth stabilize your post-colonial insecure jitters. Be respectful of the small insects, birds, and animal people who accompany you. Ask their forgiveness for the harm we humans have brought down upon them. Don't worry, the heart knows the way, though there may be high-rises, interstates, checkpoints, armed soldiers, massacres, wars, and those who will despise you because they despise themselves. The journey might take you a few hours, a day, a year, a few years, 100, 1,000, or even more. Watch your mind. Without training, it might run away and leave your heart for the immense human feast set by the thieves of time. Do not hold regrets. When you find your way to the circle, to the fire kept burning by the keepers of your soul, you will be welcomed. You must clean yourself with cedar, sage, or other healing plant. Cut the ties you have to failure and shame. Let go the pain you are holding in your mind, your shoulders, your heart, all the way to your feet. Let go the pain of your ancestors to make way for those who are headed in our direction. Ask for forgiveness. Call upon the help of those who love you. These helpers take many forms: animal, element, bird, angel, saint, stone, or ancestor. Call your spirit back. It may be caught in corners and creases of shame, judgment, and human abuse. You must call in a way that your spirit will want to return. Speak to it as you would to a beloved child. Welcome your spirit back from its wandering. It may return in pieces, in tatters. Gather them together. They will be happy to be found after being lost for so long. Your spirit will need to sleep a while after it is bathed and given clean clothes. Now you can have a party. Invite everyone you know who loves and supports you. Keep room for those who have no place else to go. Make a giveaway. And remember, keep the speeches short. Then you must do this. Help the next person find their way through the dark.